Hello everybody, Megazard here. Back at it again to give y'all another very exciting video. Man, oh man, if I ain't enthusiastic enough, I don't know how much more I can go out and show it though, because a couple of weeks ago, we had that most recent state of play that Sony managed to drop out on their channel, just short right before a Tokyo Game Show. And there was a lot of rumors, speculations about what could be announced there. Obviously, like a Horizon Zero Dawn remaster and such was kind of announced there and such. And for a lot of people, that game might have not necessarily rubbed them the right way, but I'll tell you of a game that did rub me the right way. And the freaking sequel to Ghost of Tsushima was revealed as the stinger to the closeout right after all those PS5 Pro enhanced games to that state of play. And gosh by golly, out of every game that Sony has been putting out here recently, I would say out of almost every one of their studios, Insomniac Games, Team Asobi with Astro Bot, and Sucker Punch for Ghost of Tsushima. I think those are the three studios I always look towards personally, and I know I'm going to get a great experience out of whatever game they happen to be making for whatever series they're working on within those three respective gaming studios. And gosh by golly, I was waiting for this game for a long hot minute. We got some additional details on the game that I feel like some people might know of, but maybe some people hadn't done enough digging outside of that announcement reveal trailer. So figured in today's video, I'll just go through how much I'm looking forward towards this game, the bit of extra information that Sony has managed to drop out on their PlayStation blog, and just my overall thoughts and takes on this game and moving forward in terms of like the state of Sony and what this game could potentially mean for its release coming out in 2025. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure to go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. Ghost of Yotei. Now that is a very interesting title right there, because originally what was running on in the back of my mind while I was seeing this trailer play out for the first time, I was like, me along with a lot of other people out there kind of envisioned that Sucker Punch was working on the next Ghost game. I feel like it wasn't like a well-regarded secret that everybody and their mama kind of felt like they're working on the next one to the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. And a lot of us were just thinking, oh, it's just going to be called like the Ghost of Tsushima 2 or something on the lines of that. But I wasn't necessarily thinking of them pivoting and going with a brand new protagonist within this one series moving forward though. And I think that's actually going to work to do some wonders, because I feel like what Jin's story kind of concluded between him and the baseline story and what they managed to do with the DLC and stuff, I feel like Jin has told a very complete story. I love the character to death. I love the way how he had to be, brought up through all those different unfortunate circumstances and stuff, all of the family drama that was going on within it though, and him trying to, bring together like his friends and family all together to overthrow something that's already been overthrown already at him though. I felt like that story was great from start to finish, but I feel like there's only so much that you can do before you need to actually have a brand new face, introduce a brand new character, tell a completely different story, or potentially in a whole new era. And I guess Sony kind of caught that memo from me personally, because within Ghost of Yotei, they're just completely going like almost 300 years into the future from Jin's story, and that's where the sequel is going to be taking place though. So in Sony's blog, their PlayStation blog, they kind of gave a little bit of a summary without going super deep up in it, because we're still in the early concept phase of what this game is actually going to be, at least for us as the consumer. So they don't want to give too much away, but at least give us enough to kind of, chew off of. It's like a little bit of an appetizer to the main course. You got to know exactly what you're kind of expecting at least, or have the picture or the vision set of what you're going to have for that main course. So this is what Sony had to say, at least within their PlayStation blog. Today, we are so happy to announce Ghost of Yotei, the latest game from Sucker Punch, and the introduction of our new hero, Atsu. When we set out to make a new Ghost game, we wanted to maintain the core pillars established by Ghost of Tsushima, playing as a wandering warrior in feudal Japan, offering freedom to explore at your own pace and highlighting the beauty of the world. We also wanted to continue to innovate, to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond in Jin's story and the island of Tsushima and shifted our focus to the idea of Ghost instead. At Sucker Punch, we love origin stories, and we wanted to explore what it could mean to have a new hero wearing a ghost mask and uncovering a new legend. This led us to the Ghost of Yotei, a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore. While we aren't diving into story specifics yet today, we can reveal that Asu's journey takes place in 1603, more than 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima. Our story is set in the land surrounding Mount Yotei, a towering peak in the heart of Ezo, an area of Japan known as Hokkaido in present day. In 1603, this area was outside of the rule of Japan and filled with sprawling grasslands, snowy tundras, and unexpected dangers. It's a far cry from the organized samurai clans who lived in Tsushima, and it's the setting for the original story we can't wait to tell. This is also Sucker Punch's first game built from the ground up for the PlayStation 5, and we're excited to build on the visual foundation we established in Ghost of Tsushima by making the world feel even more real. We have massive sight lines that let you look far across the environment, whole new skies featuring twinkling stars and auroras, and even more believable moments from wind on grass and vegetation, and more improvements we'll share in the future. Our new setting also gives us the opportunity to introduce new mechanics, gameplay improvements, and even new weapons. Our trailer today offers a glimpse into this world, but there's so much more to show, and we'll have much more to share in the months ahead, including details about Atsu's journey and the people and animals she'll meet along the way. We are forever grateful for the success of Ghost of Tsushima, and we can't wait for you all to experience Ghost of Yotei in 2025. And that, in a nutshell, is essentially all of what they describe as a general synopsis without giving too much away for Ghost of Yotei. So some quick things I just wanted to look at that they announced or revealed in that one blog is, they said whole new weapons. We got a little bit of a glimpse of that in those final concluding moments of that trailer, like one where you're kind of swinging around a ball and stuff. Obviously, you have one with a traditional samurai sword. We expected that though, but the clicker, the one that happened right before that 2025 banger popped up for the year that it's going to release in, was a gun. Yeah, they're actually putting guns up in this mess though, which, you know, when you think of Japan, at least in that era, you're mostly thinking, you know, just traditional samurais and stuff that might be using some of those other kind of crazy weapons and stuff like that, like almost like that ball and chain combo though. But you wouldn't necessarily think about guns, or at least maybe around 1603, but like 1603, we're kind of getting close in that era where that started to become a thing though. So I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, there's probably some things, at least in Ghost of Tsushima, where it's like, hey, they started messing with, you know, dynamites, explosions and stuff. So, you know, they came some years since that game and where we're kind of at within this era for Ghost of Yotei. So it kind of makes sense to see a natural evolution on it though. But there still are some classic old-timey feel and vibes that are still going to translate well from Ghost of Tsushima over into this game though. So the fact that they're elaborating on more weapons is, you know, it's a great thing. You don't want necessarily for a sequel to not feel like a sequel. Because, I mean, I feel like we had that issue before within other Sony games such as God of War or Horizon, where it's like people like the first games in those series though, but then when they looked at the sequels, they're like, oh, okay, it didn't quite do as much as what they wanted to, or sometimes they'll go completely off the rails just a little bit, and it's like, well, that doesn't have the same kind of vibe and feel. I mean, you have to do enough to actually differentiate yourself from the first game to the second game to give you a reason why to have a sequel, but also still do the great stuff that you did in your predecessor. I feel like this game might strike a very fine balance between the both. You got to have enough yin in your yang, if that all makes sense right there though. So those are some things I'm actually really looking forward to, at least within stories of Ghost of Yotei, because I mean, this thing is just literally a, you know, a work of art. Even in the trailer, what I saw right here, along with what we already previously got within Ghost of Tsushima, because like, you know, the different camera angles and stuff, the fact you're not just like one-to-one, just like right in front, your character is actually a little bit to your left or the right, and you're actually seeing more in the environment, just seeing the wind and stuff flowing across the grass. The fact you don't have to constantly pull up your map, the wind kind of guides you exactly where you need to go, so you don't have to pop up the map so many times. I feel like, you know, there's certain elements from the first game that they'll definitely take, and bring over into this second game though, but I am just overall ecstatic to the moon about having the game set in Japan like this back in those eras where we're going to take the success of what Jin has done and roll it over to a brand new protagonist. And more interestingly enough, the protagonist is actually a female up in this game though, not necessarily a male with Jin, which I feel like Sony's doing a pretty good job at least diversifying and having, different representation in all their games, which is something that, you can kind of appreciate well though. But I'm very curious because Jin definitely set the bar way up here. So I'm hoping with Yotei, she can manage to set her own bar and it can rival Jin's and stuff. Also be kind of nice. Not saying that this would necessarily happen, but it would be kind of cool to have like one ghost story or whatever that kind of related to Jin and kind of what happened after the events of Ghost of Tsushima, and just have that as like one cool little side quest. I mean, come on, Sucker Punch, can you give us at least a little bit of that? Just to, put a nice little gift wrap on Jin's story from 1 moving over to 2. You got to have at least some kind of casual nod. I'm not asking for much. That would just be real nice right there. And then I think the other thing that they can really elaborate on quite well is the ghost aspect. Like they're, as I said in that blog, they're leaning heavily into the ghost, which, when you look at Ghost of Tsushima gameplay, you're playing as the warrior or you're sometimes playing as the ghost. You were doing a little bit of back and forth. It kind of left, in terms of the style you wanted to play, they left it in the player's hands. So you can play more as the warrior, you can play as the ghost, so you can kind of do a little bit of fusion. I think when I was playing through the game, I was kind of almost doing a 50-50 or maybe 60-40, 60 ghost, 40 as the samurai or whatever though. The lean completely on the ghost aspect and not maybe so much as a standard samurai stuff. I think that's going to be a nice, interesting flair because I do like myself some stealth games, like, being able to do things in the midst of the night or try to do things without being seen to kind of simplify your interactions and take out, as many people as possible before they actually notice you. And then it becomes an all out street fight brawl. I mean, I love that aspect about Ghost, and it's something that I hadn't necessarily seen in a lot of other games. And I think that's something that Sony can definitely capitalize on with the sequel series, especially if they're saying that they're going to lean more so on the Ghost though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all that you think about this new announcement for Ghost of Yotei. The fact that it's coming out in 2025, I do like that. They didn't say it's coming out in 2026. I hate it when gaming companies announce a game and it's more than 1 year off. Like, at least be with be like something like a Nintendo, where you can announce the game and it come out within the next 3 to 6 months, or at most maybe a year or so, or something like that. That's what I really like though. So if I were to go ahead and give it a window frame, I feel like it might have a decent shot of coming out around like the October-ish fall time era of 2025 though. So I'm really looking forward to this and potentially whatever else Sony happens to put out in that calendar year. Do we get something from Insomniac Games like Wolverine, or do we get that Venom game or something like that? I feel like next year for Sony could very well strongly be the year that they're starting to release more of these games out. Are you going to see another showcase that's going to showcase all everything with every studio? I highly doubt that. I feel like that era is done with, unless this is the lead up to like a PS6 or a new generation console. I feel like that's where it's kind of at right now though. All right, I think I'm rambling long enough though, but just let me know if you're genuinely excited about this, because man, my reaction to this, oh my gosh, like you probably see a card up there in the corner for the whole entire state of play though. I was taking snippets from the whole entire state of play, and gosh, by golly, my reaction to that, man, I was ecstatic through the moon. All right, so that's gonna about do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like this video, make sure you're gonna hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. A little odd how I've been talking about a little bit more so things on the PlayStation side. I mean, they've been doing some good things, even though they've been kind of, we're here, we're back, we're here, we're low, we're here, we're low, we're here, we're low, we're here, we're low. I don't know. They've been all over the place though, but I had to give them credit where credit is due. That's the reason why for this video. So who knows? Maybe next week I'll have something around Nintendo focused though. But that's going to do it for today's video. I'll catch y'all on the next one though. So see y'all.